Goddamn, ladies and gentlemen, button pushers and wrench turners, welcome to another episode of Something's Broken. My name's Taylor Goodyear, and I own TG CNC Service out of Wisconsin. And it's been a fucking shit show. It's been crazy, man. There's so much going on. There's so much coming up, and my brain is just fucking overloaded trying to figure everything out and keep everything going and scheduling and trying to keep up with customers. Man, it's I don't think I've had this crazy of a time trying to just work everything out in my head and trying to figure out problems and shit. Man, it's been a lot. It's a good thing. I do rather well under pressure, I think. Maybe. I feel like I do. I guess it just really depends on whose perspective it is, but I think I do rather well when I'm under pressure and need to figure out what the fuck to do. Alright, so this last week, Monday and Tuesday, I was packing up a Nakamura W250, I think, to get sent out to a customer in Minnesota. I don't know, my customer went through a used dealership, sold the machine, and then they asked me to pack it. So I was like, yeah, sure, fuck it. Packed it up. Didn't take long. There's really not much to those Nakamuras. I had a bar feeder. I had a disconnect power, shit like that. So it was actually pretty straightforward. Nothing too crazy. All the brackets were there, so easy fucking peasy, man. Finished that up Tuesday. Wednesday I went to one of my... God damn it! Hold on. Fuck! Shit, and I don't edit nothing out, so this is staying in. Wednesday, I went to one of my top customers. They just had several issues on several machines. The one specifically was this hacker grinder that me and my contractor have worked on so much. We hate working on this fucking thing, but we're like one of the only ones that are willing to work on it, from what I understand. But not saying, nobody else can. It's just, it fucking sucks, and I'm going to explain to you why it fucking sucks. There's no designation in the electrical cabinet, so contactors, everything, no, you have no idea what it is. Electrical wires, you can maybe there are labels on the wires, but we found that some of those wires aren't labeled the same that's in the electrical schematic. And the electrical schematic is 2 fucking pages. That's it. There's nothing else. So working on this thing fucking sucks because it's a big guessing game, and you have to basically follow the path of the wires to figure out the electrical circuit. And this thing has nothing but problems with the electrical circuit, man. The last time we worked on it was about 6 months ago. It blew a transformer. It shorted out. We replaced the transformer. We changed coolant pump. I wanted to protect the coolant pump because it didn't have an overload or anything like that. It just had a contactor. So we swapped out the old contactor and put in a new contactor with an overload to protect the circuit. So this time, I don't know if it's like the main motor contactor. They have so many leads going to this one contactor. It's fucking wild. I've never really seen anything like this. But to try to cram so much shit into this cabinet, they like jump several legs off of one contactor, and it goes to a bunch of other contactors. So already I don't feel comfortable working on it. So it's arcing. And what's really weird about it is it has an overload on it, and the overload isn't cutting out. It's still just arcing. And it sounds like a fucking gunshot when it arcs. We tried to protect the circuit as well. We had him remove a disconnect that was right above the electrical cabinet, and then change the wall disconnect to be bus fused. Um, it still didn't work. The short still made it back through the bus fuse back to the actual wall panel, and then would blow the entire fucking circuit. So we're like, what the fuck, man? Anyways, I started doing some checks, and I found one of the lug terminals on the contactor was just completely blown off. It was just wasn't making contact. So I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure that's what's wrong. It just heated up, and finally over time it just melted away from the filament, or whatever that keeps the contactors together inside. I don't know. Don't care. Anyways, replace the contactor with a new one and an overload and decrease the overload. Still arced. And it was really fucking wild because when it arcs, man, you can't really see what is arcing. It happens so fast. It looks like the arc happens between two contactors, like right in between them in the space, which is really weird. So we were like, what the fuck, man? I think I think I followed the circuit correct, and the contactor is the startup for the grinder head, for the motor that spins the wheel. And it seems like when they go to start the wheel, it's slow, pop. It arcs. It's like, okay, so that I was kind of just putting two and two together. So I pulled the motor, megged the motor. It has a high and low circuit. I don't really understand the circuit. I think one is like a starting circuit, and then the other one is a running circuit. So I meg both. Fine. There's no short to ground. Meg's fine, even through the installation. Like, everything seems fine. So I was like, what the fuck, man? Eventually, it just got to a point where I told the customer, I was like, listen, give this to somebody else, man. I don't feel comfortable working on this thing anymore. There's hardly any information. Nothing is right in the electrical cabinet, and I am just completely out of time on fucking with this thing. I fucked with it for a day and a half, and like, just checking everything, and I can't find nothing wrong. Everything checks good. Contactors check good. Everything checked good. So I told them to give it to a local service company that they have come in, and they're like, okay, whatever, is what it is. So after that, I went over to an Akuma. They hooked up a new chip conveyor, and they couldn't get the chip conveyor to run. I was like, what the fuck? So I looked in the cabinet. Overload was fine. It's like, okay. Contactor's firing. That's fine. Check the voltage out to the motor. It's getting all the voltage that it needs. And I look inside of the pecker head, and I'm like looking at the connection diagram, because every motor has like a connection diagram on the pecker head cover. I'm like, what the fuck, man? I'm looking at the wiring, I'm looking at that. I was like, dude, none of this makes sense. I asked the customer, I was like, hey, did you guys take anything off of this motor when you hooked it up? Like, was there anything in here? Like, how was this wired up before? And at first they were like, no, we didn't take anything out. I was like, what the fuck, man? Because it shows UVW2 all jumped together, but in this case, the way that they wired it, there was no jumper, and they were running straight to UVW2. I was like, what the fuck? This doesn't make any sense. So another maintenance guy comes over, and I ask him, I was like, hey man, did you guys take anything out of this motor? Like, because this isn't making any sense. And oh, yeah, we did. We took, there were jumpers across these three terminals. I was like, please go get those fucking jumpers. I was like, that's why this doesn't make any fucking sense. And it was wired for, Y configuration. And I like, they had the Delta configuration on there as well, too. I'm like, looking at the Delta and the Y. I'm like, dude, neither one of these makes sense. And it was wired for 220 and not 480. It still didn't make fucking sense. So yeah, they made a mistake, but that's okay. They brought the jumpers. I hooked the jumpers up, and yeah, everything was right. Had it right, and yeah, got that fucker running. So that machine's been down for weeks, man. So yeah, I'm sure they're glad that fucking thing was back up and running. Then they had another machine for me, a Super Tech Mitsubishi grinder, um, ID grinder, ID and OD grinder. And I don't know anything about grinders. I don't really work on grinders, but I don't really shy away from anything, as you guys probably know that I've said several times. I'll pretty much work on anything until I can't. And they the Super Tech was throwing a C-axis belt loose alarm, and they don't have really any information on this machine. The manuals and shit don't really tell you fuck all. And I did my best. I called Super Tech. I called Mitsubishi. Super Tech, nice guy, Japanese, really hard to understand. I'm like trying to explain to him like what's going on, and he's telling me the sensor. And I was like, okay. So I jumped the sensor out, and the customer was still getting this, not the same alarm, but a different alarm, but on the same motion. So they do like a 3-step grinding motion, and on the third step, that's when it always alarms out. So I'm like, what the fuck, man? Even with the sensor jumped out, it was still stopping for an external feed rate message, basically, but nothing else followed. Once I jumped the sensor out, I was like, okay, so the sensor, it's not seeing the sensor anymore, and it's not throwing a C-axis belt loose alarm anymore. So I was like, what the fuck, man? So I had the customer like change a bunch of settings in their programming, and still didn't make a difference. And I asked them, I was like, when did this start happening? Like, is this a new program, new part? And they're like, yeah, it's new. And that's pretty much when it started happening. I was like, okay, let's start back at square one. I told them, I was like, Super Tech's really hard to talk to, man. They're probably not going to give us much information. Start at square one, set up on something completely different, change the program completely out, and swap it out with something else, and then try to run it and see what happens. They're like, okay, we'll go through with that. I don't know when they were gonna start that or when they were gonna do that, but yeah. So well, I guess I'll hear back on that, on whatever the fuck happened there. So Friday, I was supposed to go to a customer in Milwaukee, but I had to push that back because one of my local customers that we have a service agreement with right now, my contractor Cam, did an X-axis ball screw on a Mazak quick turn 20N with a T plus control. Ugh, fuck, man. Customer was still having issues even after the ball screw, which was really weird because the ball screw definitely was shot, but they still had the same issue as before. It's like, what the fuck, man? So I usually don't go on site unless they need like a more formal machine repair than what Cam can handle. In this case, this was an instance where I got called in. But so I show up. The ball screw load was a little high, so I had to reseat the ball nut. Alignment was a little off, which is fine, no biggie. You just move the turret to the fixed end as close as possible, loosen the ball nut, and then reseat the ball nut onto the turret casting, and that cut the load down significantly. Check to run out, ball screw fine, both ends, it was fine within a thou. So, and both bearing blocks are pinned, so everything's captured. So the problem, really weird. They could, before the ball screw was replaced, they could run 5 or 7 parts or 2 parts, and then on the third one or the sixth one or the eighth one, um, everything would be either undersized or oversized by a significant amount, like 10,000s, which is really weird. And then they could run the part again, and then it would come out fine. It's like, okay, weird. Um, I had cam check backlash. Backlash was a little high. We did a I don't know the formal test of it. I just call it a mechanical flex, I guess. You just basically grab the turret and push it, and you want to see the deviation of how much that moves, pretty much, in the X direction or whichever direction that you're doing it. You can do it with a pipe. You can do it with anything. If you move it enough, you'll see it jump significantly, and the snapback, to see if it comes back to zero. That's kind of what you're looking for. Or if it jumps significantly. Now, significantly for me, depending on the size of the machine and what the saddle you're working on, there's several factors when determining when enough is enough. They were telling me they were getting like 3 or 4 thou deviation on the mechanical flex test, and it's like, okay, well, that is pretty high. You got tool pressure and motion and shit like that, so we were pretty confident that it was the X-axis ball screw. So when we did the ball screw, I showed up just to overwatch Cam, see what see how he was doing, and they had another machine that I had to work on too when I was there. But so he did a great job on the ball screw. Just some minor things that I had to come back and take care of. That no biggie, but when we did the X-axis, check backlash, everything was good. Customer ran 10 parts, no problem. And then on the 11th part, they do like this, it's a yoke for something, I think. But it has like a flange, like a tapered flange, and then it goes into a smooth bore. The tapered flange completely missed, but the smooth bore finished. I was like, what the fuck, man? So I was like, maybe the Z-axis motion, maybe, but even then, that still wouldn't make sense on a taper cut, in my opinion. So I was like, maybe it might be the spindle. So we put a pipe in the spindle and did a mechanical flex on the spindle. Put an indicator on it, try to crank the spindle, watch snapback, everything like that. That fucker didn't even move. It moved 5/10 snapback, no problem. So okay, and we cranked on it too. So it's like, okay, maybe I don't think it's a spindle. Check the run out of the chuck. There's 0 run out on the chuck, 0. I was like, what the fuck? I checked the stroke of each jaw. Each jaw is stroking the same amount. Repeatability is great, within like 3 thou of repeatability. I looked inside the chuck. I asked when's the last time the chuck was serviced. They said it was serviced relatively soon. It's like, what the fuck, man? Nothing is adding up. Nothing is making sense. And I hit up my Mazak guys, and they're like, "Damn, yeah, that's weird." I was like, "Oh, don't tell me that." When other service guys are telling me that's weird, I know this is a ghost problem, and I hate ghost problems because when you get that, you have to like your only option is to just start swapping parts, and I fucking hate doing that, man. It never looks good ever because it makes you look like you don't know what the fuck you're doing. But it happens, man. Ghost problems happen. And it's not often I've ran into ghost problems, but I've ran into ghost problems before. And talking to my service connections at Mazak and whatnot, and then the customer had some connections with some other maintenance guys, something like that. And everybody was like, "Yeah, that's weird," and I also was saying, "Yeah, that's fucking weird." So we're gonna try a encoder now, for the x-axis. I still don't think that's the problem. I don't know what the fucking problem is, which really fucks me up because I hate that. I set up a program to have the x-axis like index and then index back to the tool that they're having the problem on, and then wrap it into my indicator in the X direction, and then go back to home and then repeat. I repeated that program on a loop for over an hour. It didn't skip a fucking beat. What the fuck, man? Like, I figured I would have seen something there, like it gradually getting more deviated, more deviated, more deviated. Nah, 5/10 was the most deviation I seen, and it didn't. It was fine. No issues after that. So I don't know. We're gonna try an encoder. We're gonna throw an encoder at it. I told the customer like, hey, listen, we'll try an encoder. If that doesn't work, if you want to get a second opinion in here, by all means, man, because I don't have the luxury of just keep throwing parts at it, and it's gonna cost you a lot to do that. And it might be easier for you to get the OEM in here because they can, for for some OEMs, they can throw parts at a machine, and then they'll only charge you for the one part that actually fixed the machine. I don't have that luxury, so sometimes that's what you got to do. It is what it is. What the fuck is going on? Yeah, whatever. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We got an encoder on order, and then we'll try that. But I really don't think it's that. And then after that, I have no choice but to just pass it along to the OEM, and they're not thrilled about that either, because they don't want the OEM in there either. So it is what it is. Next week we got a lot of shit going on. I'll talk about that next week. A lot of exciting things coming up as well too. So, all right, motivation time. I don't know how motivational this is going to be, but sometimes, man, in your life, you have to go ghost mode. And what I mean by that is you have to cut yourself off from everything and everyone and just focus on yourself. That's very hard to do for the majority of the population because social media has caused everyone to constantly search for validation in other people, even strangers. And being alone, nobody can handle being alone because of social media, because everybody is able to see what everybody is doing. Well, sometimes when you hit rock bottom, like I did, uh, you have to completely just cut yourself away from everything and everyone. Get off the social media, stop talking to people that don't give a fuck, and just focus on yourself. And it's hard. It's really fucking hard. It was one of the hardest things I ever did, because I was never used to being alone. I wasn't, since I graduated high school. I was either in a relationship or, I had friends to hang out with, and when I didn't have those anymore, because we all get older, life happens, shit, people have families and stuff, and um, when you go bone sober like I have, social events, you don't do those things anymore. And when you go to the gym as much as I do, there's gym etiquette to where you don't talk to anybody in the gym. You just stick to yourself. So sometimes you got to go ghost mode, man, to just clear up what's going on in your life and fix you. And there's nothing wrong with that. And don't ever be scared of doing that. It was the best thing that I ever did for myself, was just go completely ghost mode. And other than here, like, I kept doing this, but I did it alone, and I didn't really focus on who was watching me, or I don't really care who watches. This was something for me to do because I had to find things that I always wanted to do, and I needed to go do them to develop myself as a person. And starting a podcast was one of the things that I always wanted to do. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it, man. And here I am doing this shit. I don't care who's listening either. For me, this is fun, man. This is fun doing this. And, just talking about what my company does and the absolute shit show that I deal with on a daily basis, being a business owner and just kind of reinventing my entire existence. It's been wild, man, but it's been life changing for sure. My life completely changed when I went ghost and started my company, and I hit rock bottom, and I started a weight loss journey. Like, everything fucking changed in my life, man, for the better. And I've had nothing but success come from it, you know? I don't really talk about my success with people. Like, I consider myself pretty humble for the most part. So I don't really talk about success of my company or, money or anything like that. Like, I'm not one to brag or anything like that. Like, I don't do that, but ever since I completely changed the direction of my life, I've gotten nothing but success from it. And going ghost was one of those things that had to happen in order for that to happen. And I'm still kind of in ghost mode right now. I don't really talk too much to too many people. Um, I don't really have too many friends that I talk to, which is just a kind of like a personal choice of mine. Um, I'm still there. I'm getting better. I'm trying to venture out a little bit more, but um, don't ever be afraid to just be alone. Like, learn to be alone, and then you'll realize that there's nothing that you want. There's no one that you want or need when you're content with being alone. And that's what I've been learning for the last several months. Uh, it's nice. It's nice. It sucked. It was hard. It's been hard, really hard, But you'll get to a point to where it's okay, and you become content. And when you're there, like, there's nothing that can stop you when you get to that point, and you become a fucking machine, man. A machine that doesn't stop. And it's good. It's good. So don't be afraid to go ghost mode. But anyways, thanks for tuning in, guys. I really appreciate it. My name's Taylor Goodyear, and I own TG CNC Service out of Wisconsin. I will check you guys next week. We'll see you guys.